There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Outside Insider. We're back. Apologies for the slightly scuffed start and the delayed start by about a couple of minutes. And why we're back on the iPad. The webcam decided to break about 20 seconds before we went live. The microphone, I couldn't get the red light off it. I couldn't get the newsletter. So it all just went a bit hickledy-pickledy. All right, I've been rushing around like a blue-ass fly. But we're back to talk the Eagles. And since the last stream, where it may have had a slight breakdown, there may have been a gradual crisis about the loss against the New York Jets, Howie Roseman went out and made an unthinkable move, something that I would have never pegged, in a million years. And I think we've all come to know Howie Roseman pretty well by now. I would have never assumed Julio Jones playing on the Eagles. It still feels like a fever dream. I likened it on Twitter recently to Edge signing with AEW within the last month. It's just that legendary status that maybe he is past his prime. Maybe this is his retirement tour, but it's going to be a fun one. And we're going to break that down today, as well as a little bit of a preview ahead of what lies, I can't even talk properly, what lies ahead with the Miami Dolphins. I don't think things were as bad as we once thought. By once thought, I mean Monday's ever so slight overreaction to the basic statistics. I think there is absolutely some upside for the Eagles here, and that it's not all doom and gloom. And maybe they will bounce back with a win, like we said. It would be the most Eagles thing of all time for them to somehow host Miami in prime time after being embarrassed by the Jets and shit out a win. It just would be, and we've been through that scenario before. We'll touch on that a little bit later. K1's in the chat. Julio's our saviour. Well, look, I don't want to forget Sam Bradford, and if I have to choose between Julio and remembering sleeves, get Julio out of the city right now. I will take my sleeves memories all day long. But thank you for tuning in. AT, what's up, AT? Are you from England or Australia? That's not ignorant at all. I appreciate the question. We've got a new user in the chat. Well done, AT, for coming in and saying hello. So I'm from England, not Australia. My Australian accent is terrible. To be very clear, unfortunately. But it's an annoying English accent you have to put up with, I'm afraid. Isaac says, Julio gives us a great opportunity to have a big boy set of Julio, AJ, Goddard, and another tight end in the red zone. Interestingly enough, I did see some flutters that Zach Ertz might well be on the trade block. And the Eagles writers in the PSN chat did get a little bit excited over the idea of 86 returning to Philadelphia. Is that likely? I don't know. My theory was, and I haven't had a chance to write about it yet. I've been so busy. But what my thesis was if you bring Zach Ertz back, especially if Lane's going to be out for 4-5 weeks, maybe, we don't know. We don't know how severe the injury is, but he's at least out for one. Jack Driscoll, as we established last Monday, allowed 8 pressures in half a start, essentially. In his relief of Lane Johnson, his pitch to get more time, he ended up giving up 8 pressures, which was not ideal. So I genuinely feel as though having someone like Zach Ertz back in the picture would allow Dallas Goedert, who is a premium blocker among tight ends in the NFL, to kind of help Driscoll, to get on those blocking assignments, to just free up in the same way back in the day we referenced before that Halapoulivaati Vaitai was afforded some leeway from Stefan Wisniewski. I wouldn't mind seeing Zach Ertz back there to free up Goddard, to get him just strictly back to blocking, even just for a few weeks to negate the loss of Lane Johnson. We will touch on the injury report. Isaac's mentioned that he might be back this week. It's great that he might be. I wouldn't rush him, especially. I know it's the other ankle. Thank the heavens it wasn't the same ankle that he had surgery on last offseason. But there are some big quibbles on that injury report. They're not great, and we need to discuss them. So we will get into that as well. Not all over accents don't. And that is true. Yeah, I can't lie. The game's the game. But we've got to use what we can to get views. Unfortunately, it doesn't do much. No one likes my voice over here. So the fact there's even people over there that do like it, it is what it is. Everyone's been saying Lane's back. We'll have a week to adapt Driscoll at right tackle. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, is that Driscoll sucked. Really, really sucked last week. And I think, that was a massive contributing factor to why the Eagles' offense was so inefficient. Jalen Hurts was rushing for his life at times back there. And like I said, my analogy from Sunday was that by the time everything did actually settle down and Hurts did fold and it was his last hurrah, it didn't matter because it was like the last one in a burning town. Like the damage had been done. The Eagles, Jake Elliott had missed. The injuries ravaged the defense. You had 2 horrific interceptions. Like everything that could have gone wrong did. And the one thing that didn't really go badly was Jalen Hurts. The first 2 picks weren't his fault, in my opinion. The third one absolutely was. And it was just this last hurrah to get it up there because he'd watched everything else fall apart, in my opinion. I think a lot of it is on Brian Johnson. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show as well. I know we've got like a nice number of viewers in, so hello if you are watching from wherever you are in the world. If you've got any Brits in, let me know. I like to not be the only one here. And if you could leave a like on the stream, you don't have to subscribe, but just leaving a like really does help us reach new people. So these dulcet tones can annoy you on a regular basis. As you know, we're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Let's talk Julio then. Let's get your thoughts on Julio Jones, because this was a signing so far out of left field. I'm not sure what would have been more shocking. The Eagles signing Julio Jones or me coming into this stream with a full face of facial hair. I think they're about on par. I really think they're about on par. There's not much to separate those 2 outcomes there. What was even more interesting, as Isaac says, was that Smitty's on the injury report one day after Julio Jones mysteriously just appears, one of the best receivers the world has ever seen. He's 16th all time in the NFL receiving list, and he's now just popped up in Philly. Sure. So maybe they knew Smitty was battling something. I genuinely feel as though if that is the case, maybe that explains some of the errors we saw against the Jets. Now, and you can't put a drop on a hamstring injury, but if you're battling a hamstring injury, you try walking with a bum hamstring. I'm not even I sometimes stretch in bed in the morning and I get cramps and I'm genuinely cannot move for about 3 minutes and I will lie there, right? So maybe Smitty got an injury through the game. Being Devontae Smith, wanted to play through it, wanted to see it out. And potentially that's what caused some of the issues, because it was very, very uncharacteristic. Like, we're not used to seeing Devontae Smith make those kind of errors. Like, in his 2-year career, he kind of skipped the whole, rookie learning curve and just went straight to being a dominant wide receiver. So that wouldn't shock me if potentially the move for Julio came in it. Maybe it's a coincidental time. I can't see Julio being limited to the slot, though. That's my thing. There is no way they limit him to the slot. They're going to start moving guys around. They have to do something to open that offense up. And my theory is with Julio is that if they do put him in the slot, without him even doing anything, just by being there, it's going to serve far more of a purpose than Quez Watkins running a 4-3 40-yard dash 21 times a game. It's lovely that Quez can run in a straight line very quickly. However, would you rather defend Quez Watkins running at you at the speed of sound, knowing you can't catch a thing, or stand opposite Julio Jones, one of the most gifted receivers of all time, who is now 34 years old? He's not at his best, but he's certainly still got it in the tank. We'll get to that in just a moment. Just the intimidation of knowing that Julio can still hurt you. This is Julio Jones. This is literally one of the greatest receivers of all time. His presence alone will put the fear of God into anyone. And I don't care who you are. It's like in the same way that Tom Brady would when he was still going to quarterback. He's one of the best to ever do it. In the same way Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, guys that maybe are over that hill, maybe are a bit older. I know there's a steep drop-off in wide receivers, but I don't think it's the same. I think it's when you see Julio Jones, if you're a corner and you're on an island, it's going to be a mess. You're going to be hesitant, and safeties will be as well. Lone Trout with a huge donation. Thank you so much. That's incredibly kind. I don't have anything to show as like a rally. I need to get something sorted. I need to put this on my to-do list. But it's incredibly kind of you, sir. So I think that's 2 donations in a row from you. You are a very kind man. Thank you. Appreciate your takes and support of the Eagles, especially hearing it in a civilized accent. I'll tell you what I'll do. The least I can do for you, I hope I don't get disqualified for terms of service, I'll have a beer live on the stream. Yeah, with you. That's the least I can do for such a kind donation. We can discuss Julio. So I will show you, I'll pour the perfect pint into a glass. I have a pint on stream, and we'll do that. So what I'll do is I'm going to play the intro, come back with a pint, and then we can discuss. That's fair. That's a good, because, I haven't got a little victory song yet to say thank you. Again, it's not as sophisticated as Twitch. So give me like 30 seconds, and I'm going to go get a beer, and I'll be back, and we're going to discuss Julio Jones with a tipsy LJ. All right, we're back. So we're not drinking anything too prestigious. It's Lidl. If anyone's familiar with the supermarket Lidl, it's their own brand of San Miguel. Okay, cost of living crisis here. We've got to be, cutting corners somewhere. But we do have a San Miguel glass. If you're ever in England, or I'm not sure where else does San Miguel, I think most European places, tremendous beer. There is no better beer on the planet. Right. See, you put it sideways. I've learned, and this helps. Right, watch the mastery here. I've learned. Oh, it's not the best pint I've ever poured. It's not great, but it's not terrible. All right, I've had worse. That's okay. Okay, we can drink on stream. Thank you. See, Caitlin, there we go. That's the only way that comment gets replaced is with pint pouring technique. Cheers to the chat for a more civilized stream today, where we're not screaming at Brian Johnson. We're not screaming at the offense. We're not angry about what we saw. We're optimistic. Julio Jones is an Eagle. That's all we could ever want to talk about, right? I'm not downing it, though. I'm not going to down in drinks, and that will not be civilized. But again, just a big shout to Lone Trout. That's incredibly generous of you. Here's to Julio, and here's to Lone Trout for being very, very generous on this fine Wednesday evening. And on that note, we will bring up our first graphic. I know K1's been itching for it. He loves coming in and seeing these graphics. So, right, let's play. I'm really annoyed. I might have lost what I'm trying to get at here, because I made another graphic. Some of you will remember recently. I've got it. Don't worry. Okay, let's play a game, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, in the chat, called Quez Watkins versus Julio Jones. Who would you rather have? Bearing in mind, Julio is a declining receiver. And theoretically, Quez Watkins would be an ascending receiver, someone getting better with age. He's only young. He was in his first year when this graphic would have been made. So Julio 2020, 700 yards, 50 receptions. I think from that point, he did become that emergency depth receiver. He got released by Tennessee shortly after, then had one freak season with the Bucs where no one saw coming. He went ring chasing. I assume that's what he's doing here. He's a little slut for it. He loves it. He wants a Super Bowl ring. He cannot. And I don't blame him, because he was in Atlanta for so long. He never had the opportunity. All right? You come to Philadelphia. You slut drop all you want, sunshine. If you bring us a Super Bowl ring, I don't think anyone will care why you're here. But just a tremendously gifted receiver who, even at this age, is able to be more productive than Jalen Reagor ever was. Yeah, that's how we have to look at that. Okay, he spent the first round pick on Jalen Reagor. At the same time, Julio was doing this. Julio Jones is going to cost his team next to nothing. That's the other way you have to look at this now. In comparison to, literally anyone, an AJ Brown, for instance, you're getting someone that has the potential to still perform at an adequate level. If we come away from this season with Julio having, let's say, 17 receptions for 134 yards and a touchdown, that's worthy of a minimum contract. Like, the guy's on the practice squad at the minute, gents. All right, let's not forget. Compare it to Quez. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? You're paying like a minimum contract for not only just take the name out of it. Just look at the numbers alone, all right? If you go, I've got a phone there with me. I'll speak it into Siri. We'll do 2020 to 2022. What is 106 plus 647 plus 354? 1,103 in the same time span. What's 771 plus 434 plus 299? 1,414. Big difference. And that is just, again, in terms of very, very basic. We're not even discussing anything else, or the name, or the experience, or the knowledge. You're just going off pure production. It's night and day. It really is. Like, Quez has had 60 yards in his last 10 games or something pathetic. Julio's going to get that in about a week at the latest. Okay? You don't need him to be a world beater. The Eagles have two of them in Devontae and AJ. You're not signing him for that. However, what does have to be spoken about is the fact that when he did go to Tennessee, AJ Brown was on record on NFL.com. There's a video of it at training camp saying of how he like lured him in. Like he was the one reaching out to Julio, trying to get him to come to Tennessee, trying to get him to bring his talents to Derrick Henry's and an army of bums. But he tried to get him in, and it worked. And the idea was that he looked up to him for so long that he was like, it's an idol. Getting to play with you, meet your heroes, getting to learn from him, soak up all that experience. Then he quits, or doesn't quit. He gets released, by Tennessee. That was definitely the wrong term. Gets released by Tennessee. And AJ Brown puts a heartfelt message on Twitter as if he's gone through a breakup. I don't blame him. We've all been there. And now he gets to bring him back to Philadelphia with someone that he's close to in Devontae Smith, both Alabama products. He knows Jalen Hurts, Alabama, knows AJ Brown, Tennessee. You've got someone that is like immediately familiar with that receiving group, which in itself is young. As much as we say that AJ Brown is an established talent in the NFL and one of the better NFL receivers, you also have to understand he's still only a baby, really. Like, he's not quite as baby as Smitty. He's experienced, he's got his payday, but it's only he's like 6th year in the league off the top of my head. He's not old. He's like my age. I mean, I'd like to think I'm a baby. I know I look like and I sound like one, but, you know, in life, I'd like to think I'm still quite young into this whole thing. So it really is just one of those things where it is the perfect player to come in. Like, if you've got an offense that is stuck, which it was against the Jets, let's be brutally honest, and it has been stuck for about 5 weeks. And as much as I can look forward to the Dolphins game, as much as I can talk about how Brian Johnson will figure it out and it's teething problems and Jalen will get it right, don't give a shit. They were bad. They've been bad for 5 weeks and they've got away with it. And you bring in a receiver who has played in a variety of schemes, has been to the big game several times, has got himself in situations where he's surrounded by elite talent. He's learned from some of the best in the game. He's been one of the best in the game. He'll be able to point things out to receivers, to quarterbacks, to coaches that they don't even see. Like, it will be the bare intricacies that he can produce, that he can elevate the people around him. That's why he's being brought in. I think that's 100% what it is. It's just a perspective of an outsider that is a wide receiver, very well established, again, 16th on the all-time receiving list, that can say, look, Brian, buddy, stop it. All right, I've been there, Atlanta, 2017. This happened, that happened. This is how we fixed it. Bang, go. I really think that kind of impact will be invaluable to an offense that doesn't know what it's doing. Brian Johnson is spinning a roulette wheel every single time he calls a play. Is it a pass? Is it a run? Oh, pass again, pass again. Like, they need some external input. And while Julio isn't a coach and he's not quite an elite player, he's somewhere between the two. And I think for the price that they're going to pay, which is, again, a practice squad eligible contract, he's going to be absolutely fine. So let's get to some of your comments. I've seen we had 8 in here, so we'll get to some of these. Let's have a look. Julio's stats in the last 2 seasons are better than Quez. Exactly. I'm pretty sure it's just league minimum, because I don't really feel as though that you'd be able to get. I know the practice squad's based on like time in the league, but I don't think he'd be eligible for more than that. And if it's above league minimum, it's not going to be a lot. Like, the Eagles don't pay anyone anything. They're not going to pay an aging Julio Jones like $8 million. Watch it be $8 million now. If it is, we'll come back to this very clip. And the 12 that are in here now have all been witness to the fact I called it out. Phil's in. Well, welcome to the chat, Phil. I mean, AJ's younger than me. See, AJ, I wouldn't start a fight with. I couldn't box AJ Brown. Like, he's 2 years younger than me, but he's a big boy and he's a scary boy. He'd sort me right out. He would sort me right out. I wouldn't know what to do. I still think I could have Smitty, though. But that's another debate for another day. Quest has all the tools, but doesn't seem to have the dog. He doesn't fight and seems to make stupid mistakes, even in his 3rd year. He wonders why the QB doesn't look at him. No trust. Yeah, pretty much. He's a speed merchant. It's literally it. And I've said it for about 8 streams in a row. I don't want to bore the people that have been in all of those streams, because I know many of you have. Speed is no longer an exclusively desired trait in the NFL. At other positions, maybe, but the whole wide receiver bubble of just being rapid it doesn't matter when everyone is. Like we said this before, there's only one Tyreek Hill because he has everything, as well as being game-breakingly quick. But Deshaun Jackson was one of the first to do it. There were a couple of others around that similar time that were just breaking in. But now, it's like, if you were to, I'm not sure if there's a website that does it, but I guarantee if you were to take the average 40 time of every draft class at receiver over the last 10 years, you'd have probably shaved off about 0.3 of a second. You'd go from like a 4.6 to a 4.3 on average. I guarantee it. Because everyone needs to be. Everyone grows up watching D Jackson. Everyone's converted from athletes and hurdlers and track runners. Like, how many receivers has track experience? Started as a track athlete, was poached for the team. So, like, it's no longer this massively desired trait. So Quest has come in with that being his calling card with nothing else. You can respect speed. And that's what Sirianni uses to defend it. Like, oh, well, you have to respect his speed. He's so bloody quick. Great, but we don't have to respect anything else because he's useless at everything else. And that's the entire issue with him. Brandon Lewis, welcome to the chat, Brandon. Appreciate you putting a little comment in there. Brian Baldy pretty much gave it away, Lane Johnson. Oh, did he? I've not seen that. If anyone could pop a link in, that would be tremendous. Yeah, I've not seen it. Baldy's a national treasure, though, isn't he? Bless him. He's a funny guy. Love him. And outside, let's wide receiver, you're saying Julio's an outside insider. I am. What I will say, completely irrelevant to anything else, one of my biggest pet peeves since ever doing this is when this was like a podcast and it wasn't a semi-daily show, bi-daily show, if you will. It would come out once a week and I do like appearances for other podcasts and stuff. And the amount of times people would call it the Inside Outsider would break my heart. Like, okay, so this is my girlfriend's little tray. She puts jewelry in it. Smashed in half, that would be. If I joined a podcast and said, oh, it's Liam, he does the Inside Outsider. No, I don't. Now people are going to look for that and don't know what it means. Okay? I don't know what it is. Even today, the McDonald's order, they called me like Lima. Pathetic. When I used to do motorsport broadcasting, okay, I did commentary. I was at race circuits commentating over cars as they went round tracks. There were brochures made by actual companies to promote the event, and my name in there would be like Lane Jenrins. And this isn't a joke. Everyone gets it wrong. So more than anything, Isaac, thank you for getting it right. I'm glad one of you has. But the amount of, like, every podcast appearance I've ever done, people have said, oh, it's the Inside Outsider. It's like, well, no, I'm not. That defeats the object. The outside insider. I'm an insider on the outside. I'm not an outsider on the inside. That just makes me feel like I've been exiled or something. But I digress. That has been held, internally. That was a therapy session. That shouldn't have come out there. But I've had a sip of beer. It happens. AJ Funny, look, I've got to, I've got to try and talk. You can't just watch me drink beer. That's not entertaining. Or is it? We'll find out, I'm sure. I'll have a little bit more. It's okay. See, we're flying down. Don't you worry, we're flying down. Baldy did the tweet about it. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'll take a look. I found it weird. So I was given access to like a Lane Johnson school talk. Like, he was going into a high school to talk about mental health, and that was due for Wednesday, like today. And I got an email Tuesday. I think it was Monday morning. I got an email saying that it's been called off for another day because of his injury. So I assumed would have had to have been fairly substantial to not do a school talk. Like, if it's an ankle sprain, you can walk. It's not like you're running around doing ballet. You're not doing a cheerleading demonstration. I don't know. I'm not Lane Johnson. I don't know what his pain threshold is and what the injury is. But I've known people pick up injuries and still do media. So I assumed wrongly that because he missed that maybe it was going to be a slightly longer term thing. I thought maybe even season ending. I could be wrong. Again, assuming, ladies and gentlemen, makes an ass out of you and me. Always remember that. And, if Lane Johnson plays this week, that'll be a perfect example of it. Assuming makes an ass out of you and me. That's free, that is. You can have that one for free. Won't even charge you for that one. You can hang it on your wall. Forget live, laugh, love. Put that up there. All right? You're welcome. That's just part of the show. You get that one on the house. Don't you worry about it. I also like Julio's presser. He said he's here to dominate and not just be there. He will dominate whatever they ask him to do. Yeah, I didn't see the presser, but I saw he got a bit rattled, didn't he, at one of the reporters who basically said, like, how much have you got left in the tank or something. And he didn't like that. and then basically said, just watch what happens and revisit this in a few months or something along those lines. So I was like, well, fair enough. I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm enticed to see what he can do. The one thing I would never do as a reporter, speaking to Julio Jones, who just signs on a team, is maybe underestimate him. I feel like, this is someone that's like, again, 16th on the all-time receivers. It's like a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Has broken near enough every receiving record there is in Atlanta, some in the NFL, been a dominant force for the better part of a decade, and you're going to stand there and go, what have you got left in the tank, Julio? What have you got left in the tank, Baldy? Not Brian Balding, like a board reporter. You're 55, sat there slagging him off, asking questions. Get it together. Yeah, let's be nice here. Maybe there's better ways to phrase it. I don't know. But I feel like just being a bit pokey with players is, I don't get it. I really don't get it. It's the one thing that's always wound me up. Part of the reason I started PSN to begin with was I just felt there had to be a slight... We're going off topic. They didn't call you some poops or not. No, I mean, Lima will do. Lima was bad enough. Lame Genrins in print, though, that took the piss. Lame Genrins. It was Laim Genrins. So maybe I've sent my name and I've got really bad handwriting. Like I can't hold a pen properly. I'll make a point of it. Wait there. I haven't got a pen on me, but I should have a little golf pencil. Do I? Absolutely not at this time. That'll do. I've got a match. I'm coming back. Don't worry. Right. So most people hold pens like, they can't really, that, don't they? I hold pens like that. Was a nightmare in exams. Maybe me writing my own name is why that happened. But no excuse from McDonald's. It was all typed. But there you go. You learn something new every day. That one's free as well. You're learning all sorts today. Lame Genrins is my goat. Yeah, we'll get some Lame Genrins merch or something. But we'll get it all out because it's been the bane of my life. I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm quite a simple guy. There's not a lot to me. Everything's quite easy to say. It's not like I'm, I don't know, McLeod, John Balthazar, Bethel Thompson, for instance. But everyone gets that right. Liam Jenkins. Oh, you'd think it was in a different language. I appreciate you, Jarrell. I'll have another sip with you. We've got to this point in the Eagles therapy sessions now where we're just drinking together. Apparently Lane was doing a bunch of workouts on the legs. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the guy is an absolute, freak of nature in the best possible way. He's an absolute, monster. It is nuts, the power he has for someone that, you'd feel like he should be much bigger as a tackle, but, his frame is so lean for what he is. But it's just crazy. All the respect in the world to him. It's unbelievable. Why do you write like you have feet for hands? I never learned. It sounds really weird. I never learned. I remember being at primary school and everyone was writing their name. And I used to write mine as Lim because I couldn't write my name. And I found it really uncomfortable. So I was like, well, yeah. And just kept writing the way I did. Did it all my life. And then in exams and stuff, I'd have ink all the way down here, and I swear I got tendonitis or arthritis or something because it'd be clicking all the time. And yeah, luckily I'm not in a field where I have to write a lot. But then again, as a journalist, that could change at any point. That wasn't the smartest move. You had the most peculiar overshares. Look, I think that's why people watch the stream. You don't get this on ESPN, do you? You don't get people getting a match and showing you how they hold a pen. It's all, you never know what you're gonna get. All right, look, this streamer is like a box of chocolates. You never know how they're going to be spelt. Okay, you never know who's writing the words on the front. But what can you do? What can you do? Word on the street is you're flying over with Callum and Tiesto for the World Series parade. I'd love to. I mean, it'll be amazing. Could you imagine if that happens? I mean, the Phillies are red hot. I mean, that's been really fun. I haven't watched excuse me, I'm going to burp in a minute because of the beer and the talking. It's not... There it is. I'm trying to be polite. I haven't been able to catch a full game. I keep passing out mid-game. So luckily the first one was all right because they went up super early. I turned it off and was like, oh yeah, cool, I can go to bed. They've won it. God, almost fucked it. Almost threw it away. We're all right though. Second game, much better. Absolutely much better. Nothing's weird since he cut his stream repeatedly to drop a mixtape. To drop a mixtape? What? Who, me? Did I cut a mixtape? Nothing is weird since he cut the stream repeatedly to drop a mixtape. What mixed it? What was this like the Clayton Dawson songs? Was it the? I don't know what I've done. Right, you have to. I might be being a bit silly here. I might be having a funny 5 minutes. You might interrupt me out. The Sidemen hasn't called you to join the group. No, I think I'd kill their vibe if I'm honest. Oh, I see that stream. Yeah, that was. Yeah, unfortunately, that was not great. Not my proudest moment. I can't lie. I'm amazed I fought through it though. You know, me, AJ Brown, Jalen, all of us got together, decided we had stomach issues for like 2 hours. I got a text from Jalen saying, "What's up? You got a stomach issue?" I was like, "Yeah. Do you want to go in the trenches with me?" Like, yeah, I'll be in there, Jalen. I'll be in there. Is the fact that no defense helps on the way worry you or make you hopeful that the Eagles are confident in playing the players returning? That's not what he said, but I get what Mark's saying. Yeah, it's a good question. Yes and no. I mean, prior to today's stream, it would have been lovely had a Jeremy Chin signing happened. I'm not going to lie. I was highly anticipating a Jeremy Chin trade because he would have been the perfect sort of addition to that secondary. However, the injury sucks and now options limited again. What I will say is everything's been all right defensively, isn't it? Like, consider the injuries that they've had. You can literally name an entire defensive injury. So at some point in the season, right, let's see how many we can name and how many we've missed. Let's play Eagles trivia. So Fletch, Marlon, Milton, Jalen from the defensive tackle spot. They've all been injured at some point. Defensive end, I don't think they've had any. Corner, everyone. Everyone not named James Bradbury at corner has been injured, basically. Safety, Blankenship, Sidney Brown, Justin Evans. I think Terrell Edmonds has been on the injury report a bit as well. Linebacker, Nakobe Dean. I might be tapping out a linebacker. Was there another one? I'm not sure. But I think, yeah, considering like they haven't played with a full unit all season. There's not been one game outside of the opener where every single player, like starter, has been healthy, available, and firing on all cylinders. So, all things considered, it's a lovely segue, this. When you look at something like this, and you see that the passing defense and the rushing defense are actually, right, I see the issue I've written. Oh, no, that's fine. Excuse me. Look, the passing defense hasn't been great. The rushing defense is still somehow second in the NFL. Like, it's not that bad. The Eagles have got a better defense than Miami. That's weird. You wouldn't have pinned that. I wouldn't have guessed that just off the eye test. Sure, the turnover differential sucks, but like all things considered, I know they've not played great teams up to this point, and I know that there have been flat spots, like against the Rams, where the first half against the Rams was certainly like the worst I've seen him all season, and even that is a compliment, because if the worst we've seen that defense is kind of holding their own against Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and Matt Stafford, he was like borderline undefeatable against Philadelphia. I'd like to think Desai's doing all right. To me, he's been the MVP this season. He really has. Like, he has been. If Sean Desai had been replaced with Jonathan Gannon and Gannon hadn't gone and got a head coaching role, this team would have 2 or 3 wins maximum. I guarantee it. They would have probably beaten the Vikings, probably the Commanders, probably the Bucks. I think the rest would have probably been a loss without Sean Desai. So that should hopefully reinforce like how valuable he's been. So as much as it sucks that Reed Blankenship might be out, Darius still might be out, you're now at a point where Jalen's still limited. We're not really sure what's going on there. It's never been that much of an issue. Like, he's somehow been able to make the entire defense function relatively normally with running on like half staff. And that for me is a huge vote of confidence. Like, imagine like a workforce. I always liken this to PSN, right? Like, there are days obviously, because I'm the only full-time person at PSN, like properly. There's one other, but he also works for another company that's owned by the company, if that makes sense. So he's like half and half. So the only full-time member still is me. So when my writers can't edit and they can't write and they can't get content out, obviously it comes to me. But like, if there are weeks where people have things on and there's family things on or there's school or there's work or whatever, and we can still have a really good week, I think that's huge. That's far more valuable to me than if everyone's firing on all cylinders and we have an average week, if that makes sense. So I think it's huge that you've got someone in Sean Desai that understands how to adapt when, controversy strikes, when you are at a setback, when you are suffering a glaring weakness. There is no way that Eagles team should have been as good as it was defensively at all this season. When you look at the receivers they faced, like every single week, from Cooper Kupp to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. I say Mike Jones. I don't know who Mike Jones is. Not a clue who Mike Jones is. I've never heard of Mike Jones. I don't know where that came from. Mike Evans, Justin Jefferson, Kendrick Bourne, aka for 1 week prime Calvin Johnson. Like, to play the receivers they've had this year, Terry McLaurin, another one, and still hold their own has been very, very impressive. We only have 4 linebackers, so one hurts 25%. Yeah, that's true. There you go. So you're automatically down big. K1 likes the graphic. And we have got Julio. So, somehow, some way, we do have Julio. Who's Mike Jones? I was pleasantly surprised when Sean Desai switched to man defense. If we had him during the Super Bowl. Yeah, I tell you what. I mean, I think to this day, if Jonathan Gannon hadn't applied for that gig in Arizona, the Eagles would have won the Super Bowl. It was the snakiest. I should have seen it in his little snaky little eyes. I saw it. I thought, look, I saw right through him. NFC Championship game, said he's here forever or whatever silly bollocks it was. And then a week later, he's like, on the phone to Arizona, everyone's crying after the Super Bowl. And he's like, got the good. Has anyone ever seen The Office UK? Because there is a scene that is exactly like it from there. And the manager, like the Michael Scott equivalent, has to lay everyone off. And he's like, bad news, so some of you are going to lose your job. And they're all like, what? And he goes, good news, I've been promoted. And it's exactly like Jonathan Gannon. He is that guy to a T. To a T. Mike Jones was the guy that saved the Super Bowl for Sunday. Yes, that Mike Jones, that infamous wide receiver Mike Jones. I love how it's Mike Jones is Mike Jones. Mike Jones. I might still missed it again. But look, all I'm saying is NFL legend Mike Jones he's gonna be a problem this week. But Jonathan Gannon. If the Eagles lose every game from this one out, but they smash the Cardinals by beating them 50-3, I won't care. Physically will not care as long as they win that game, because they have to, because he is the most Michael Scott, like, he does my head in. He does my head in. And I was sat there for months watching people lick his ass like he's some sort of defensive mastermind, like he's discovered lightning and like electricity for the first time. Like, he's genuinely the best thing since sliced bread, Jonathan Gannon. And you could not say a bad word about him. You couldn't say, but they're giving up X, X, and Y. But the Eagles have done this, man, and they're 7-0, and you're just a hater. And you're like, no, the guy's a fraud. He's an absolute fraud. To this day, I'm telling you, it will come out. He's going to get absolutely exposed in Arizona. He'll be out of that job in 3 years. 3 years. He'll be out of that job. Liam has made the usual relationship similes with Julio. That's what we do. Look, relationship similes, it's all I know. It's the brand, okay? It's the easiest way to make it relatable, because we've all been there. And if we haven't, we've, seen it in other places, if that makes sense. Like, look, I hadn't had a positive relationship until this one. So all my similes were bad similes. But now I know good similes, yeah? Everyone likes a simile, is what we've learned in that brief 3 minutes. Did Desai just learn the concept of man coverage? I think he bought the DLC. I think he bought like the Madden add-on about halfway through the game. Like, he just paused it, save scummed, quit the game, bought some upgrades, came back in, and then that was it. That was what happened. We're 9-0, leading the league in sacks, and reporters wanted me. Yeah, that was tremendous, wasn't it? He just does deserve a smack. Like, I can't say that as a reporter, really, but I'm not in Philadelphia. Like, someone's got to hit him. Like, I give it, Sirianni will do it. Nick will hit him. Nick gets fired up. But JG just isn't it. He was never it. It was Nick Sirianni was the guy. It was very apparent very quickly. And JG just sort of, again, I could have coordinated that defense and it would have been all right. Because there was that much talent. The first year of it, he was playing Fletcher Cox at cornerback at 1 week. I could swear to God he was in the slot. And Fletch kicked off about it. in a presser. It never happened again. But for 1 week, it was just like putting all his players into a big like bingo ball and running around and running around and running around. And then, yeah, you can go there, you can go there. Javon Hargrave, you're going at safety now for this play. And we're going to put, yeah, you, Darius, you can go defensive tackle. Unbelievable. Like when your mates can't pull a girl and yeah, that's my analogies. All I'm saying. I mean, 70 plus sacks, number one pass defense is a tough act to follow. Yeah, but like, again, it was a bad schedule and the talent was ridiculous. The talent on, look, all I'll say is, in his defense, it's very clear the way he generated pressure was sustainable and it worked. And I think it is better than Sean Desai's pressure. The difference is Sean Desai isn't totally incompetent and has a back end that will function. So it doesn't matter if you're only going to rush 3 or if you're going to pull some guys back, because the front 4 is trusted to do its thing. And because of that, you can then allow the corners to be a bit more aggressive. You can allow the safeties to be a bit more aggressive. Like Reed Blankenship, prior to his injury, was playing some of the best ball I've ever seen him play. Jumping around, jumping routes, arms in here, legs over there. He was having a hell of a day. So yeah, that's sort of how I view it. Is that they're two different styles of defense, but I really do think that Desai's is far more sustainable. Now the big boy schedule starts. Yeah, that's the thing. Now it gets tricky. I would put it up on screen. Unfortunately, I'm on the iPad because the webcam broke on the computer about 3 minutes before I went live, so that was fun. 49ers get the XFL schedule all year. True, but at the end of the day, they could be without Christian McCaffrey for a bit. They could be without Debo for a bit. I don't think this NFL season is as open as people think. I think that we could see some real surprises. I don't just mean the NFC East. I mean like everywhere. Like the league is just in one of those states at the minute where there is no... Like, who is the best team in the NFL? Miami. Well, they got embarrassed a couple of weeks ago, and Tua got made to look like Stuart Tagovailoa. So it was like Tua's weird cousin Stuart Tagovailoa. So realistically, yeah, if the Dolphins are the best team and they can be embarrassed, the Bills have been embarrassed, the Chiefs have been embarrassed, the Eagles have been embarrassed, the Niners have been embarrassed. Like every dominant team has been slapped about at some point this year. And I can't remember a season outside of 2011 with the Saints. Like, and even the Saints got mugged off a couple times, I think. Like, where it felt very neutral, if that makes sense. I know that's a weird season to pluck from the air, but it's the first one I can think of where there hasn't been a runaway team and the rest of the league's playing catch-up, and it was kind of obvious that one's going to the Super Bowl. Like, this is very much a level playing. I could see a scenario where, like, the NFC North is a great example of this. You've got 3 teams that are 3-3 in the NFC North. The Saints, the Panthers, and one of the other bollocks ones. Pretty sure it's Tampa Bay. Like, there's not that much of a gap differential anymore between, as Isaac says there, between the top and the mid-tier teams. Whether it's the middle catching up or the top teams regressing, or a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B, I really do think as though that you're going to see some surprises, especially come the playoffs when 50% of the league make the playoffs anyway. Ramsey Bengals was like that last season too. Yeah. That's NFC South. Oh, it's NFC South. Apologies. I've had half a beer. Let me off. Alert. Phil had legit power rankings this morning. I saw the tweets. I didn't see the power rankings. I've had such a busy couple days. I swear to God, Greg's not here, but I know I spoke to Greg earlier about like potentially joining PSN and stuff, and we've been going through a hiring process of like bringing people on. I didn't know as many. Like normally we get 5 or 6 people apply, so over a week or two I can have a phone call with all of them and then just go from there really and kind of feel it out of like who I want on. And we literally had 38 people that I've had to whittle it down to before I've even had a phone call to contact. So I've been here and then, but then they're all like reaching out and everyone's wanting different things and I'm getting overstimulated. So I haven't had time to look at Phil. So I got to get up and it's just straight in and trying to. I've got like an NFL draft board basically of people that I'd like to talk to bring on PSN. Greg's one of them. Greg got a lovely email earlier. If you didn't think it's lovely, I'm sorry. I've probably written it wrong. But yeah, so I've just been really busy with that. So I haven't been able to catch many of Phil's streams, I'm afraid. But NFC South is there. Stop sending your ex-Eagles players when they're washed. Yeah, but that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of the NFC South. It's just a dumping ground. It's great. Let's have it. Okay, let's take Phil's not Phil's dumping ground. Phil's, because I'm sure I've got the notification. I'm going to try and find Phil's rankings. Bear with me. My phone is not charged. Also, totally irrelevant. I bought a wireless phone charger because my phone doesn't charge anymore. What is that? Little suction cups on it, like one of those the Pokeball things for like ADHD. It's like one of them. I don't understand. I don't understand. I've got one of those Pokeball things as well. They're brilliant. But right, where is this power? I'm sure we would have retweeted it because it's Phil. Let's have a look. I know he's been in the mentions about it all day. Did he make a graphic for it, or did he tweet it? I've got top 5 Eagles to wear the number 80. And Jordan Matthews is 4th, so that's bollocks. Sorry. I'm a Jordan Matthews stan because he was the nicest man to me ever, and I love him dearly. I don't know if you remember me now, but he did for a bit, and that was great. Right, come on, Phil. Where have you put it? Why are you hiding? That's his Phillies parlay. Was this today? I need Brexit for that. Probably. I don't know where he's put it. I know he's... I've got it. Right, I've got it. Here we go. Phil's graphics consist of sharing screen. Yeah, mine do, and they don't. Like, they would if I had the PC on. That we're back to the things now. Pokeball things. Oh, you're missing out. I don't know what they're called, but I think they're literally designed for people who have ADHD. It's like an attention thing. I don't know what they're called, but it's like a little board. Sometimes they're in little shapes, and they got very normalized because of TikTok. And then like everyone started getting them. But during COVID, they kind of blew up. And like they're just little rubber balls, and you poke them through, and they go great fun. But yeah, it reminds me of that essentially. But they are designed as like a tool for they're cool. Look them up. They're like £5 on Amazon. They're quite fun. Phil has 0 graphics game. I know. I'll try and help him. I mean, but I think Phil's objectively better at hosting than I am. So there's that, you know. Poppets. Maybe they're poppets. Sounds like a chocolate bar. I'll have some of it. Get Jordan Matthews on. I don't know if he'd answer. I'll tell you what I do have in my phone. He definitely wouldn't answer that. I could tell you a very funny story, actually. I don't know if I'd even be allowed to. But I can show you someone's name who I have in my phone. I can't show you the number for obvious reasons, but just saying, okay? You wouldn't know who I am anymore. I've not spoken to him in like 6 years, but maybe the amount of times I've almost drunk Chaser like, Trey, what's up? And like, just thought, no, I can't. But that's like no one here understands it. No one genuinely gets it because it's Philadelphia, and I would like over there it'd be like quite a big flex. Here no one really cares. Taylor Swift, I wish it was Taylor Swift, just so I could like get pre-releases, so I could text her to stop releasing an album every 6 months because it's doing my head in. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. I love T Swizz, but she's taking the piss with it now. It's every 6 months there's a new album, and it's her version. It's going to run out of time. Phil doesn't have access. Phil does have a glorious beard. Yeah, mine's coming back though. It's been a week. We get the weekly Liam saga. It's coming. The facial hair's getting there. Please make Phil a graphic of him benching Harden. I'll hit him up. I'll see what he wants me to do. All right, so here's rankings for week 7. So he's got the Chiefs at number 1. We'll go backwards. Browns at 10. Jags 9. Cowboys 8. Ravens 7. Bills 6. Eagles 5, Lions 4, Niners 3, Dolphins 2, Chiefs 1. I thought you said it was good. I'm joking. Okay, objectively, I disagree. I don't think the Browns are a top 10 team. I would look, if I'm being honest, I'd put the Saints at 10, and everyone's going to shout at me for that because what Derek Carr, but that's 3-3, Liam. But listen, I think the Saints are going to be dangerous. The defense isn't caught fire yet. Derek Carr just put up 350 yards and lost, I know, but they're getting there. Chris Olave is a great receiver. They're getting there. I think the Saints will be a problem like later in the year. and they're in a very, very, very favourable division, and they're going to sneak into the playoffs. So I say Saints at 10. He's got Jags at 9, Cowboys at 8. Probably swap them two. Ravens at 7 is probably fair. Bills at 6, Eagles 5. I'd probably go Lions 6, just because I feel they're very momentum based. I don't know. There have been times where the Lions this year have looked dreadful, but then they'll fluke something, and then they're like, "You're the best team in the league." They've got that like magic Eagles 2017 factor, but I don't know again if it's sustainable. Bills are top 5. Eagles are just about there. The Niners have dropped a bit. The Chiefs are 2. If my top 5 would be Dolphins, Chiefs, Eagles, Niners, Bills. I'm running out of time now. I've lost track. I need to write this all down. Maybe I'll start doing power rankings. Maybe I'll take a leaf out of Phil's book. But yeah, I mean, Matt's not happy. The Eagles are the worst 5-1 team in the NFC. I don't look. I think if it's head to head and you're going to put the Eagles against the Niners, the Eagles have the advantage. Are they the better team top to bottom? I don't know. I almost gave myself stomach issues again. I don't know. I'd say that, look, if the Niners had a marginally better quarterback, if the Niners had, I say in every stream, I don't know why, Derek Carr, they would be unquestionably better. Brock Purdy brings them down, I think. But, that's me. Niners not top 10, Saints suck. Underrated interview, but Brent Selleck. Oh, underrated interview. Sorry, Greg. No, it's my bad. Yeah, I picked up on it. I'm a bit slow now. The beer, tired. The Corking Caractacus. It's not going well. Yeah, I would love to get Brent Selleck on. I think he would be a phenomenal player to kind of pick his brains with. Trey Burton's story with me was fantastic. And I don't know if I can tell it. Maybe I'll save it for I need a night. Maybe on the Halloween week, I'll have a fireside stories. And I'll get a green screen up of a campfire behind me. And I'll go over every player interaction and funny story or NFL anecdote that I've had since doing PSN. Some of them you would have heard before, but some of them I haven't been able to tell for quite obvious reasons. Some of them are now that the time's passed and they're not really in danger of losing status or kicking off, I don't know. Could be fun. But J-Matt's lovely. All the time in the world for Jordan Matthews. Lovely, lovely man. Brock Purdy's the only reason the Niners can pay for those tools on offense. That's a good point. I'd never thought of it like that, to be fair. That is a very good point. And do you know what? It's not even the worst thing. I said the other day, I wouldn't be paying starting quarterbacks 250 million. And that's not a shot at the Eagles. I understand Jalen's earned it and you want to keep him there, especially after that year. We can all agree he earned the money and we all agree they needed to keep him. But if I'm building a team as a GM, it's just rookie contract 5 years and base level guys, because as we know, you don't need a franchise quarterback to win. Look at Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. You don't need it. It's not a necessity. It helps massively, but the risk you have, the more money you put into someone, the more risk of going tits up it is. That's just the fact, okay? If you put 20 million into Jalen Hurts' bank account over 3 years, never going to happen, right? But if he messes up or it goes a bit wobbly, you're like, it's not the end of the world. Not great. If you put 255 million in and he starts throwing 3 interceptions against the Jets and maybe he struggles next week, the microscope gets so big so quickly, irrationally, and it shouldn't do because of the weight of expectation. So I wouldn't do it. If it's me, I would find a way to moneyball a team and find players with I don't know what attributes you'd need. Maybe they're just really good at slant passes. Maybe they're just Clayton Dawson. Nah, but maybe they're I don't know, just a game a Jimmy G type guy, Derek Carr type guy. Someone that can just get you to the finish line and put you in a position to win. That might occasionally go on a heater. And Gardner Minshew last week tore up against the Jags, put up over 300 yards. You can win games in the NFL without a quarterback. There are only a handful of quarterbacks that you can say on any given day will 100% change the game. Patrick Mahomes, I think the list stops there. Josh Allen can look. I disagree. I'm a football manager veteran. Okay, I will moneyball the piss out of the NFL. No QB, no Super Bowl. Nick Foles. And again, you can look back and say, well, Carson got the Eagles to that point. Would they have got to that point without Carson if Nick Foles was a QB the whole time? Maybe. If the answer is maybe, do you need Nicole Mack in the Super Bowl? I don't know. Look, Foles is, I understand. I understand because Carson got you over the line. I think you can moneyball the NFL, but it has to be done right, and the margin for error is very slim. The Eagles have got the base principles in place already. They don't pay running backs. That's a great start. That's rule number one of moneyball in the NFL. You do not pay running backs. Rule number two would be like, probably don't pay linebackers. Or like, I mean, the places that you play, or that you pay, sorry, are offensive and defensive line. Because you have to A, protect your bang average quarterback that you're not going to pay, and B, to haunt other quarterbacks. Like, you run the trenches, you run the day. Like, look at the backfield. Like, the Eagles are consistently one of the top rushing teams in the NFL. When was the last time they paid a running back? So, I don't know. It's tricky because you can't say, like, oh, take a fifth-round quarterback and he'll be fine and start. It's not quite that level. As we've seen, you put someone like... look, there aren't many backups in the NFL that are starter-worthy, right? Like, that they can hold their own on a game-by-game basis. Like, if you starting QB goes down, you've got a backup in, are you confident in winning the games the same way? I don't think so. There are very, very few that tick that box. So you're going to have to pay a quarterback to some degree, but you don't have to have an elite quarterback. I think is what I'm trying to say in a more moneyball-y type way, sort of thing. How is the close? Yeah, exactly. How he's got the right idea, but I'm still paying someone $250 million. And the thing is, what I was thinking at the time of the Jalen Hurts extension, and this isn't a shot at Jalen at all, if the Eagles were to have a tits-up season, or 2 or 3, and they have to offload Jalen Hurts at any point, you end up then with, you've drafted 2 quarterbacks in a row, paid them both a shit ton of money, and they've both not panned out after you've paid them a shit ton of money. That's a risk. That's an inherent, like, it's not agreeable, disagreeable. That is a fact that is a risk. Whereas realistically, if you were to San Francisco, leverage draft picks and just keep recycling, and you find a Brock Purdy that you can just get you by. Like, I don't know why we're debating this, because this is going to look like I'm anti Jalen Hurts. Like, I'm not at all. I'm just saying you can moneyball the NFL, and I wouldn't be tired. I think Duck made the point, and I'd never looked at it through that lens of San Francisco are only very, very good in those areas because they are happy to lack at quarterback, knowing that the system's that good. It doesn't really matter who's throwing the ball because the skill position players will do the rest. But I find it fascinating. I really do find it fascinating looking at how different teams build. Like, you've got the Ozzie Newsome school of scouting, where you've got like the Jets, the Ravens, the Eagles, and a few others. And there's a reason that the Eagles are like so heavily targeted every offseason for front office members. Like, Andrew Berry is probably the best example of the Cleveland Browns. Like, was poached within 6 months of him even arriving? It never ends. There are always Eagles coaches and front office members being poached because people are seeing what they're doing. Even if the players don't yield results, people will look at the Quez Watkins pick and be like, I like that thought process. Why aren't we finding that? Like, why aren't we finding that type of player? So it works. There are ways to make it work. You think Sean Desire would mind taking over Johnson's play calling duties? At least he'd make adjustments. It'd be better. Look, you could give Sean Desire that play sheet upside down and in Arabic, and he'd still do better than Brian Johnson at this point. He would still do better than Brian Johnson at this point. I'm not going to rant about Brian Johnson. I'm not doing it today. I've matured. I'm better than this. I'm not gonna fall for the bait. But absolutely, hot take. I think QBs make too much money and is killing team building. It will if it continues to rise. The issue is that the salary cap keeps going up every year because the TV money keeps going up every year. So, like, as long as that trend continues, there isn't going to be anything to buck it unless there's like a unanimous rule change where all the owners vote, and that's just when everyone starts crying. Because like the tush push, like that's the only way it's ever going to change, really. tits down, bro, we're going to win. Julio Jones could be any slot corner with ease, and he still had the speed to stretch the field. Exactly. And he's also got the experience of someone that has played literally everywhere there is to play that's of any relevance, has won 1 billion games, broke 1 billion records, and has played under some great footballing minds. And he's been able to take that to Philadelphia. Like I said earlier in the show, an offense that is lacking identity, that is struggling. And this is what winds you up with the Eagles as well. Because on one hand, you've got A.J. Brown becoming the first ever Eagle to have 4 games in a row of 125 yards. And on the other, DeAndre Swift rushing his heart out. And then there's this backside of the coin that is just an absolute train wreck. And it's like, if there wasn't these superstar level plays, these ridiculous record-breaking feats that somehow, some way, these skill position players are accomplishing in this wreck of an offense, then it would be a very different story. The elite talent, much like they did to Jonathan Gannon last year, is bailing the team out. And there's got to be a step up for Brian Johnson. And I'm hoping that after preaching accountability last week, Nick Sirianni can go to Brian Johnson and really get the best out of him, or at least do something to give this offense a fresh view on life. What about a huge market crash and the TV money tries that? Well, I don't know, really. The XFL exists, I suppose. I don't think the TV money never will. Because the thing with the NFL is if, let's say ESPN give up the Monday night game, you know that even if there is a huge market crash, Fox will want it, CBS will want it, TNT will want it, any Amazon Prime will want it, DAZN would want it. Like, every big company would want it to a point where it just drives it back up again. So even if there is a market crash, the NFL is kind of inadvertently safe because everyone wants it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if it comes to a 20% discount and you're like, oh, okay, TNT bid like 5 million. Well, then ABC will bid 6. And then so. I would pay good money to see Liam get the Rings of Jericho. Do you mean like the Walls of Jericho, or am I missing? Do you want to get like a wrestling submission? Are we taking the piss? Or have I missed? I would pay good money to see Liam get the Rings of Jericho. Is it right? The Rings of Jericho might be something good. All he means the Walls, and I'm going to get my back broken. How much? How much, TMC? How much are we talking? Because I might do it. All right, times are tough. I might do it. You know, if it's $50, I might do it. TMC's gobsmacked. I'll give Shady McCoy the clipboard. Yeah, I'd give it to anyone at this point. I'd give it to TMC. I'd give it to Isaac. I'd give it to you, Eric. I'd give it to absolutely anyone. Unfortunately, I feel like that's what he's doing already, Brian Johnson. I've got a very funny feeling that's his entire thesis for developing plays, and that might be part of the issue. But on that note, we'll wait to see what TMC says, because I'm genuinely curious. And while he's doing that, I'll finish my drink. Then I've got to go and interview a potential writer and hopefully not be tipsy off of 1 beer, because that will be embarrassing. But the game's the game. Do love a good beer. You forget LJ's in Britain as the NHS. True. For now, for the time being, yeah. As long as it's still standing barely. We should bring in Jason Garrett. I think people will be anti anything cowboy ever since the Orlando Scamdrick incident. And that wasn't a vocal typo. That was on purpose. He was an absolute scam artist. But yeah, ever since that, there's just no, people don't like DeMarco Murray, Orlando Scandrick. People just don't want anything cowboy related. And I understand it. I really do understand it. But TMC is now trying to check his bank account and see how much money he would physically pay to see me get the Rings of Jericho. And look, first the hairline, then the facial hair. Now I actually want to see me get beaten up by a wrestling legend. Like, it never ends. It never ends, the fun in this stream. Garrett's a decent OC, but just a shit HG. This is a JJ. Yeah, I mean, someone like Kellen Moore's probably going to be a big coach over the next 10 years or so to keep an eye on. Who was the guy that was with the Jags and then went to college? He was with the Eagles for a bit. Or did he go back? I can't remember his name now. Was a Jags quarterback. I'm pretty sure he coached at Texas, not Texas Tech. It's one of the lower Sun Belt schools. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember his name. Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's every week or every show, one player just gets me, or I can't think of what they're called. But everyone wanted him as an offensive coordinator in Philadelphia. And I can't remember what his name is. That's going to drive me mad. Balls. Played for the Eagles. No, he didn't play for the Eagles. He played for the Jags. He was a quarterback for the Jags. No. He was a quarterback for the Jags. And he went to coach. And he coached at college, and it was pretty good. And I'm pretty sure he came to the Eagles, or in some order. Not Josh McCown. Oh, I can't remember his name. McKinney? Just saying names. Was it GJ McKinney? GJ Kinney. Maybe it's GJ Kinney. I think it might be GJ Kinney. I've pulled out my ass. I'm very impressed with myself. Let's find out. GJ Kinney. Yes, it was him. Anyway, give it to him. That was all I was going with at that point. Anyway, guys, ladies, gentle birds, however you identify yourselves, it's been an absolute pleasure bringing you this show today. I want to say podcast, but it's not really a podcast anymore. I'd rather a big elbow Birmingham chat show in the Royal Rumble in the sky. Big elbow match show in the Royal Rumble in the sky. Look, I'll win any Royal Rumble. Put me in the Royal Rumble with AJ Brown. And sort him right. No one's ready for that. Sort of. Anyway, guys, enjoy your evenings. What's on tonight? AEW Dynamite's on in an hour, so that's as close as you'll get to me being in the walls of Jericho for now. But go Birds. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. Enjoy your Thursday night football. We will be back on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, to preview the Miami Dolphins game. And on Thursday, I'll drain the glass, K1, don't worry. I'll drain the glass for you. On Thursday morning, obviously tomorrow, you can go chat with Phil in Trending in the AM. I'll see you Friday. And I'll say go Birds. I'll down the drink. I'll burp a lot. We'll go. And just thank you for hanging out. If you could leave a like on the stream when you haven't already, it would be a massive, massive help. It just does mean we can grow it and reach more people and do more cool things. And if you do want to see more of it and get notified when we go live, hit subscribe. It is regular. I'm not going anywhere. I might even have more beers one day. So massively appreciate you guys. Go Birds. And just one last massive shout as well to Lone Trout. He's not a lone trout in this chat. He's in a big group of trouts, and we all love him. Very kind for donating $10 and supporting the stream. From myself, Liam Jenkins, if you haven't seen my review of the Philly cheese stack on Twitter, make sure you do, because that's chaotic. I'll see you soon. Cheers. Go Birds.